It's not at all easy to get clear on this sort of stuff, but it impacts everything. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. It's good to be aware of the principle that perhaps, maybe, just maybe, you or someone else in your life might have baby chains holding them back from things well into adulthood. Hey you, I'm Mark, husband of one, father of three, maker of puns, climber of trees, grower of businesses, pitcher of tents, occasional cutter of cheese, word nerd, and lover of families. Oh no. Oh no, not yet. No. Oh, here he comes. Where's my oar? Showed that crack on who's boss. At least until like 2 p.m. this afternoon. I think I'll be due for another attack by then. Let's jump into it. Hey, welcome to all of you bandits and chilies. This episode is called Clarity, Friction, and Your Elephant, How to Get Unstuck. I do have to apologize. I have been a bit sick this week. I've been putting off recording this in the hopes that I would be better. That has not happened. So this is just what you're going to get. This is what we've got to put up with. So how to get unstuck. There are broadly 3 categories of things that can get you stuck. So the first is a lack of clarity on the path forward. The second is friction. And the third is goop from your past. So let's start with the first one. A lack of clarity on the path forward. This is a real challenge, especially when you're striving to achieve something that you haven't achieved before. Even when you can see others achieve that thing, you are not 100% convinced that if you do A, B, and C, it will give you the desired results because you haven't lived that yet. Something that you can do to gain clarity on your next steps is to create a bit of space. Step back from the problems for a moment and then categorize them. You could do this in a number of ways. One would be to use an Eisenhower matrix, the 4 quadrants of like urgent and important, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, and neither important nor urgent. This can help you to filter down what feels like an overwhelming list into the key things that need to be addressed next in order. It can also help you to realize that maybe some of the things just need to be let go. Another thing that you can do to gain clarity is to seek advice from someone who is ahead of you on the specific path that you are struggling with. The reason that you're feeling stuck is because you haven't achieved that thing yet. But someone who has can objectively look at your situation and reevaluate it from a place of informed competence. This can be incredibly illuminating since they may highlight things that you hadn't thought of and also tell you that you don't need to be at all concerned about some of the things that are currently stressing you out. If you'd like to book a free 50-minute clarity call, there's a link in the show notes. Let's talk about it. The second category of things that can get you stuck is friction. By this, I mean the friction in the current day-to-day of your life. You've probably heard that Steve Jobs famously had one outfit that he wore. He had multiple sets of that outfit, and when he got changed, he didn't have to think about what he was going to wear. Why did he opt for this expression of minimalism? Apparently, we each make between 10,000 and 40,000 decisions each day. Each one of those decisions requires energy. They're not free, they come at a cost. What Steve Jobs did and what others also now do in eliminating wardrobe as a category for decision was to reduce friction in daily life. Do you ever feel like you've got 74 tabs open in your brain? What areas of your life contribute to the friction within it? For me, one obvious answer is my kids. I love them to pieces, but they inherently involve a lot of friction, mental bandwidth, decision making, and even the having of stuff. There's just a lot of stuff that we have that we wouldn't have if it weren't for our kids. There's a lot of things that we could do without, that we could easily get by without, but it's beneficial for them to have these different options of mentally stimulating toys and all sorts of things that it's healthy for them to be able to explore. But what that means for us is a bunch of this extra friction in our life that we wouldn't otherwise have. Now think about minimalism for a moment. If you applied Steve Jobs' wardrobe approach to your office space, how would it look different? If you applied that to your kitchen, your work vehicles, your calendar, your garden, your focus within the business, how would it look different? It's interesting to think about. How much more could you get done if you were able to close 71 of those 74 tabs? Now, back to kids. It's a part of the package. They require a lot of attention and they are terrible at making decisions which positively contribute to the household on their own. So, you just have to expend a bunch of your bandwidth on ensuring that really basic things do and do not happen. Yes, put the milk away. No, do not cut your own hair. Yes, go to the toilet. No, 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 do not go right there. Location, location, location. I wouldn't trade them in, but sometimes they can be a real brain drain. So, this is all the more important if you have kids, removing friction from your life. Can you get rid of some stuff? Just having it around, taking space, inherently means that it is lurking and waiting to collect the rent of the mental energy that it requires of you. Sure, that snow gear might be stored safely away in the roof, but you will have to face it eventually. How many more moves will your unused exercise equipment follow you on? How many garage sales will your maybe not pile evade? How many items do you have around your home that you have already replaced and yet you haven't gotten rid of the old when you brought in the new? I'm checking off a few things in my head right now. The majority of us have way too much stuff. Having a clear out can be very cathartic and reduce friction. But that's not the only kind of day to day friction that we might have. No, sirree. It can be people that we allow into our lives, or at least who we allow to have too much access into our lives. This could be people in your business. It could be the approaches that you take to things by default. For example, maybe if you don't think of an answer to a question or an opportunity within the first 15 seconds, your default is to kick that can down the road and say, I'll come back to that, or let me think about it. What if instead you were to spend an additional 45 to 90 seconds and make a definitive decision about it right then and there, or within that time, schedule when you would revisit the topic? Perhaps there are systems in your business or life which simply cause undue friction, a process that has to stop by you for approval when really it could just be made to keep right on going. Reducing friction from your day to day can be a challenge, but also a real game changer. I've had the mistaken belief in the past that the degree of difficulty must increase in order for the results to get larger. That belief can be crippling when you have high friction in your life because you have zero desire for any more of that constant struggle, and so therefore you do not want to have any increased results, all based on a faulty belief. In reality, the truth is much closer to the need for things to become simpler before they can produce greater results. I didn't say easier, but simpler. Having an increase in clarity will make the next steps simpler to follow because there is less noise. But at the same time as turning the volume down on that unwanted background noise, it is important to turn the volume up on the efforts that you now see the clear need to double down on. Also, there's this great quote from John Spence about honesty which really applies here. If you tell the truth, it becomes a part of your past. If you lie, it becomes a part of your future. So, as it pertains to the friction that you have in your present, confrontation, difficult conversations, etc., don't plant problems into some unknown part of your future. Mark Twain said, always tell the truth. That way, you don't have to remember what you said. Pretty clear to see how this applies to freeing up mental load. Jesus said that the truth shall set you free. Now, this idea of false belief and also of integrity within yourself really carries over to the third category of things that can get you stuck, which is goop from your past. This is the biggest one, and it is the hardest category to deal with. You are this accumulation of all of your past experiences. Every part of your psyche has the underlying motivation to protect or in some way or another meet your needs, especially emotional needs. We are feeling beings that think, not thinking beings that feel. What this means is that there is stuff from your past, stuff from my past, that comes into our present. We haven't done the full system update to the latest version, and so our brains respond to certain things with often outdated pathways. For example, let's imagine that John had a highly critical father. Every time that he would try to impress his dad with something that he was proud of, his dad would always tear him down. Dad, I won the high jump. Ah, but you didn't do too well on the relay though, did you? So, over time, what happens is that John's brain optimized for flying under the radar. It was safer to not try to excel. His need for his father's approval wasn't going away, but he noticed that if he was mediocre, he wouldn't get berated. He never got praised either way, but at least shooting for mediocrity, he wasn't being torn down. There's a billion ways that that scenario could play out. Sometimes it results in seeking out numbing activities, distractions, or vices. Other times it might result in a hyperfixation on success, which from the outside might seem great, but internally may be born from a very unhealthy place. It's not at all easy to get clear on this sort of stuff, but it impacts everything. This stuff is going on in your head and in my head daily, constantly. Things come up and we are processing it with software that was installed at age 11, at age 5, at age 2. Commonly, that kind of example of John might be referred to as self sabotaging behavior. And look, maybe it is, but that's not necessarily the best way to look at it. Really, it's just part of John's 5-year-old programming that was optimizing for protecting him and meeting his emotional needs. He's just never downloaded the software update. To some degree, you can't update the software, but to some degree, you can. If John became consciously aware that the reason that now, in his 30s, he was struggling to achieve the things that he was setting out to do was because he didn't want to be berated by his father, he would probably think that that was a ridiculous game that he no longer wanted to play. And with a bit of time, patience, and continued awareness of those patterns cropping up, he would be able to work through that software update. If you're feeling stuck right now, or if you're feeling stuck in a month from now, one major possibility of a cause is that you have a deeply held belief that isn't true. Not only isn't it true, but it also goes against some of your current conscious beliefs and goals. For example, perhaps you have a goal to improve your health or your finances, and yet you have a really solid, fundamental, well established false belief buried deep in your subconscious mind that says that you don't deserve that it is wrong of you to want that. The analogy has been used of an ant walking on the back of an elephant. If the ant is traveling north whilst the elephant is traveling south, ultimately they both go south. The ant depicts your conscious mind and the elephant depicts your subconscious mind. This is, broadly speaking, vertical integration, aiming to align the conscious and subconscious of the brain, which physiologically are the top and bottom parts of the brain, respectively. How can you dig into your subconscious to find out what lies it is telling about you? Well, you can't. It's your subconscious. But it's like that lottery meme. You know, I wouldn't tell anyone if I won the lottery, but there would be signs. And, maybe there's like a photo of a brand new Ferrari in front of a totally dilapidated house with an overgrowing lawn, right? So there would be signs. Here's a quick framework for a curious self study of your subconscious and the kind of signs that might come up. Step one, notice things. Notice things on autopilot that you don't think serve you or align with who you are now or who you want to be. Notice software that needs to be updated. There's too much unconscious stuff going on to pay attention to the stuff that does serve you, so just take note when you automatically seem to be gravitating towards the chocolate, doom scrolling, pushing against the things that you have stated that you want to do. This is really clear evidence of the ant on the elephant. If you have set a schedule for things and then you are not sticking to that, take notice. When does the elephant walk away? What was the task that he left behind? What did he do instead? Just notice. Step 2. Try to identify the need that the elephant was filling. Remember, the elephant isn't evil. Your subconscious isn't out to ruin your life. It just might be using 2005's data to make 2025's decisions. The elephant is definitionally not rational. Rationality in the brain is mainly attributed to the prefrontal cortex. Where is the prefrontal cortex? Upstairs at the front, not downstairs. So the elephant, representing all of the powerful downstairs subconscious elements of the brain, does nothing rationally. This is why we are, psychologically, feeling beings that think, not thinking beings that feel. You probably think that you're a pretty rational person. You're not. None of us are. It is easy to catch yourself or your elephant doing weird and irrational things. Side tangent, Dr. Alan Watkins is a neuroscientist and he describes emotion as energy in motion. Energy in motion. We have all of these little bits of data, a cold breeze, a stomach rumble, a light twinge in your left calf, physiological data points. This energy in motion converts to our feelings about things, which then both impact and are impacted by our thinking. He has an amazing TED talk on this, which I'll link in the show notes. So when it comes to trying to identify the needs your elephant is seeking to fill, it is pretty safe to assume that these are emotional needs. There are several models of emotional needs, but here I'm using the example of the Human Givens list of 9 emotional needs. These are security, meaning and purpose, intimacy, attention, privacy, status, control, community, achievement. So when your elephant starts to veer off the track, take a look at what he is avoiding and what he is heading towards. Either or both could be the emotional needs. Perhaps one is a trigger for the other. For example, this particular task seems really hard, and the elephant has decided that this would be a great time to top up on some of that delicious attention fruit over there. There was a deficiency in your elephant's diet, and he's just picked up an opportune time to avoid something difficult and get something that he was lacking. Or perhaps the task makes the elephant feel insecure. The elephant doesn't like that. He needs security. So he seeks security in avoiding the tusk. Get it? The elephant avoided the tusk instead of task because he's an elephant and they have tusks. Look, you act like it was a bad joke, but you'll never forget it, because they have an elephantastic memory. Okay, I'll stop. So step 2 was identifying the need that the elephant was filling. Step 3 is to assess the areas in your life which make deposits or withdrawals to that emotional need. For example, some needs are at odds with other needs, and these needs need to be balanced. Privacy and community, or security and achievement. It's hard to achieve something without getting outside of your comfort zone, without feeling somewhat insecure for a time. You will have things in your weekly routine which contribute to and take away from these various needs. In your business, there is a lot of work that needs to be done that goes unrecognized, unnoticed. You detract from attention and status when you engage in that work. Ultimately, though, continued work behind the scenes will pay off in both of those same categories, aside from any others. Life is messy. The idea of a perfect balance between all of these needs is just that, an idea. But when you notice that the elephant left the path in search of the community tree, take a look and see how you can better fill that cup. Not just filling it ahead of time so that the elephant is able to stay on track, but also filling it in the most intentional way possible. Generally, the random community tree on the side of the path will be in the form of something like social media. That's not the best, most intentional way that you could be seeking human connection. So seek to improve both the amount and the quality of the fruits that your elephant is sniffing. All right, step 4, keep track of your elephant. If you had a literal elephant entrusted to your care, you would probably be a bit overwhelmed and you'd have to learn how to look after it. As part of the weightiness of that responsibility, you might decide to keep a log of the elephant's behaviors, diet, health, and any trends that pop up. Seems pretty responsible, right? In his book, 12 Rules for Life, Jordan Peterson's second rule is treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. Here's an excerpt. People are better at feeding and properly administering prescription medication to their pets than to themselves. That's not good. Even from your pet's perspective, it's not good. Your pet probably loves you and would be happier if you took your medication, if you are alive, if you are healthy. It's difficult to conclude anything from this set of facts except that people appear to love their dogs, cats, ferrets, and birds more than themselves. How horrible is that? How much shame must exist for something like that to be true? What could it be about people that makes them prefer their pets to themselves? So, back to you and your elephant. I'm deliberately trying to anthropomorphize your subconscious into an elephant that you are responsible for, because, funnily enough, you are then more likely to look after it. If I said at the start, journal your feelings and behaviors and seek to better fill your emotional needs because #you're worth it, then there's every chance that you would tune that out. I would probably tune that out. But guess what? Get this through your rational brain. You are foundationally emotional. You are not in control of a lot of the preset emotional programs that are running in your life, that are running your life. And you would be better off if you are more aware of them and able to influence them. You cannot fully control them. So that can't be the goal. Influence, in as far as you can realistically get it, all starts with awareness. So, keep tabs on your elephant, journal, log it, see what it's up to, notice the trends. Have you heard of the way for trainers to get control of elephants? When they are young, they will have their leg chained to a tree. The baby elephant struggles against the chain and learns that it cannot get free. As it gets older, the same chain can be used, tethered to a tree or even just a peg in the ground. The elephant has developed what is known as learned helplessness, and doesn't even try to escape, even though at this point it would be completely easy for it to do so. Maybe that is relevant to your elephant, and maybe it isn't. But it's good to be aware of the principle that perhaps, maybe, just maybe, you or someone else in your life might have baby chains holding them back from things well into adulthood. Alright, your challenge from today's episode is to identify one need that your elephant pursued despite the protests of your ant. Was it the secure tree, the privacy bush, the sweet fruit of attention? Just notice and identify one thing. Lastly, to tie everything together nicely, what's the world's biggest ant? An elephant. Now, you might think that I started from the point of this joke and worked backwards in writing out this episode, but I can neither confirm nor deny any such claim. Don't forget to book your free 50-minute clarity call via the link in the show notes. Have an awesome day, make someone else's day awesome, and take care of your elephant. Catch ya. Bye. Are you picking up what I'm laying down? Are you sniffing what I'm stepping in? If you're looking for a really valuable community centered around building your business, being really intentional with your spouse and kids, and if you think you can tolerate my terrible dad jokes, then join Family-Oriented Business Growers. It's awesome. There's self-paced challenges designed to help you solve key pain points within your business in short, intentional sprints. There's awesome people in there doing awesome things who have experience with stuff that can help you, having stood where you stand. You'll benefit from what's in there, we'll benefit from having you in there, you legend you, and best of all, it's totally free and also free of toxic shenanigans because we don't tolerate none of that. The mission of the group is to help 250 family-oriented home service business owners reclaim 5 hours per week for what matters most whilst growing their business this year. So jump in there and get amongst it. Join via warplan.au, that's warplan.au. Oh no. He's early. Warplan.au. Catch you in there. Ah!